Okay, it's a beautiful day, nice and sunny. What we're going to do is on this beautiful, perfect day, we are going to talk about not quitting. Okay? So, because we're divine, we are always proven right. Which means, whatever you want to manifest, whatever you want to bring into your life, you have the power to do that. But because you are always right, when you choose to quit, you choose to strip yourself of that possibility of experiencing that thing. Okay? So the external, our reality has certain sayings like, you have to know when to quit, you got to know when to pivot. Again, if your goal is to function from the divine identity or the divine being, God doesn't quit because there is no chance of failure, right? Like God doesn't fail. God just does, right? There's no, not even a doubt. Okay? Like, imagine during the Bible, God was like, let there be light. No light came. God's like, oh man, I guess light didn't come, so I guess we're not gonna have light this time. Like, nah, bro. Like, God doesn't quit. Now, if you are functioning from your divine, you're always allowed to pivot, as long as it's a conscious decision. Don't ever let the 3D tell you what to do, because again, the external comes from the internal. Okay? Everything that's outside of you comes from you, which means that everything is the cause, or everything is the effect of the cause that is you, right? So, just pick a method, pick whatever you want to decide, pick whatever your reality is going to be for you. And then during that time, have blind faith in yourself that that's going to be your reality. That there's no chance that anything else is going to happen. Failure is not an option. There's no, not like there's no plan B, but in the sense that there's no, like, there's no doubt in your mind that you're not going to succeed. Because when you know you're going to succeed, there's no reason to quit, right? The reasons we quit is because we think we can't do it. We think we're unworthy. We have fear. You think the external dictates everything in your life. So the external is telling you something, so you're like, oh shit, this is telling me this. So this must mean that I'm not worthy, or I don't deserve this, or this isn't for me. When in reality, you create your reality always. And then everyone has their own unique universe. Everyone shows up as echoes in other people's universes, but everyone in your universe is you in a certain way. So, I don't want to rant on this topic. I'll make a note and then come back to it. But yeah, everyone is you, including the elites, the satanic. Everyone is a reflection of you. I would say that the Satanists and the satanic and the elites are just the projection that doesn't embrace the power that is the divine within themselves, right? So that's the extreme example when you reject yourself as the creator. So, anyways, back to not quitting. Don't let the 3D tell you what to do. If you have a desire for something, that's because there's a timeline where you have that, where it is already yours. That already exists. Because you wouldn't have a desire for something that you don't already have, because you're God. You give yourself things. So you already give everything to yourself. Give yourself love. Give yourself wealth. Give yourself whatever you need. and detach yourself from the outcome in the 3D. Because if you're still if you're attached to the outcome and you're doing things to get, you're in the identity of lacking. Because if you're doing something to get something, then you are telling your consciousness that you are lacking it, which is my problem. Because I would go back and forth between being like focused, knowing that I had something and have something and I've given it to myself, and then flip-flopping and being like, oh, like I do I have it, do I not have it, like what's going on, is it a thing, like, maybe I don't have it, maybe, the self-doubt creeps in. And then when that happens, then whatever you're doing, any positives that you might have manifested during that time, backfire. And when you have, you're given more, and when you lack, everything is taken away. So if you tell the 3D, or if you quit, or if you say you're lacking something, you're telling your own God power that you don't have it. So what does the God power do? It will create that reality, right? So it's like, okay, you have power, you're all powerful. So if you're saying you don't have it, you don't have it. Boom. Done. The worst part is that because you don't acknowledge what's happening, oftentimes what does happen is that you end up manifesting negative for yourself a lot. Like a lot. Like this is what I used to do. And I had like this pseudo intellectual take where I'm like, oh look, I'm just looking at all the possible negative things so I could be prepared and try to pivot if I see something I could expect the worst, and because I expected the worst, I was prepared for it, and then I would create it for myself. And it's like, see, I can tell the future, like I'm so like intuitive, like I know what's going on, when in reality I just created a negative experience for myself, right? Because you don't lose, and again, you're always right. So be careful if you do quit anything. Just make sure, again, if you are functioning from the divine entity, the divine identity, you're allowed to quit stuff, but you're not really quitting stuff. What you're doing is you're working towards a different reality. So it's more of a pivot, if you want to get like semantics. But again, you're doing it because you know you're not lacking. So there's no sense of failure because you already have everything. And you're detached to the outcomes. So the whole, the whole thing is just, it's a non-issue. Because again, God doesn't worry about failing. God doesn't worry about quitting. God just does, right? So that's how you have to function. You have to function from the lens that everything is possible. Everything is possible. Everything is created. All creation is finished, right? So the way life is set up, there's an alternate timeline where you're with somebody else, right? There's an alternate timeline where you're doing something else. There's an alternate timeline where you have a different job. There's an alternate timeline where maybe you're gay, maybe you're bi, maybe it doesn't matter. But there's an alternate timeline where all like different circumstances are whatever, because you're just experiencing. Because the divine is here to experience. But when you're conscious of it, now you get to play. So when you get to play, you get to now focus on creating the experience that you want. You're focused on creating your heaven on earth. So again, whatever the 3D tells you, if you know in your heart something is to be true, or you desire something, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't quit, just because they're like, oh, it's it's not likely, or XYZ happened outside of me, so now this is not a possibility. Everything's a possibility. Everything is a possibility. You create your own world, and you are just stepping into the timeline where your desire, right, where your desire and you are one, because you already have it. And if it happens to be a person or a job or whatever, again, everything is a mirror of you. Your experience here is unique to you, which means that the people around you aren't experiencing the same universe as you. You are the lens in which the universe unravels, right? For yourself. And there's echoes of other people's being in your world sometimes. Because at least I've noticed it, because there's times where you might hear something and it doesn't make any sense to you, or it's their interpretation. You can't even try to frame it as a mirror, where it's like, it's just something completely out of left field. But then there's times where you create the negative experience in that sense. Because again, for me at least, it was unworthiness, and it was thinking it was too good to be true, so it had to get messed up at some point. So that identity, would ruin stuff, even by accident. Like, no one wants to fuck up all the time, right? But yeah, it just pay attention what's going on. Last part, I'll probably rephrase that better in a different video. But yeah, don't ever quit. Don't ever quit. Don't let the 3D tell you you're not worthy. Don't let people outside of you determine what kind of person you are, because the only people that determine who you are is you. And if people tell you something, you, as the divine creator, have the veto power. You're like, no, that's not true, right? And I mean, I've been called a lot of stuff, and each time I was called something, I was like, okay, no, that's not true, right? Like there's certain times I was like, like maybe I got locked up in a shameful identity, which for a minute it was difficult to it was me dealing with like a porn addiction from like shame, right? And then every time I was like, okay, look, in my mind I was like, okay, I'm good now. Then the 3D would try to tell me otherwise, and 3D's like, oh no, you're not good. Oh, it's not that easy to quit. Oh, like it's just using different people as different mouthpieces for my self-doubt. And I would have to respond, right? You'd have to be like, no, like this is not true. This is not me. And that happens all the time, every day, right? There's stuff that happens where you're trying to change a habit, you're trying to be a different person, trying to be a different identity, trying to I don't want to, you're not trying to fix yourself, you're just switching to a different identity to experience life a different way. And then the old self comes back, and it's like, oh, you remember this thing that you're having trouble with? Like, that's still you, right? And then you have to say no. And you can't quit. You can't quit. If your goal is to experience from that lens, or to have that experience, and you give it to yourself, you have to know that it is done. And the law of detachment, right, would be that knowing that it's done, you no longer care about it, right? So you're not doing stuff to receive, because again, that's lack. But you're just doing stuff because that's simply what you're doing and what you decide to do, because that's who you choose to be, right? So anyways, ranting. It's It's all good, you know, as long as you just understand never to quit, regardless of what people tell you. If you consciously want to pursue something, never quit. So don't quit. Every day is a perfect day. Make it perfect, make it beautiful. You have the power to create whatever reality you want to. So, deuces, catch y'all later.